This podcast is featured on the Gun Rights Radio Network. Podcasting freedom. You can hear Gun Rights Radio Network on Stitcher Smart Radio. Stitcher allows you to listen to your favorite shows directly from your iPhone, Android phone, BlackBerry, or Palm phones, on demand and on the go. Don't have Stitcher? Download it for free today at Stitcher.com or in the app stores. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio. Gun Rights Radio Network shows can be found under sources.
It's time for On Target Radio, Chicagoland's only radio show dedicated to educating, entertaining, and discussion of firearms, legislation, and your Second Amendment rights. Presented in part by the Illinois State Rifle Association, Illinois Gun Works, Pelcher's Shooting Supply, and Safer USA. Now here's your host, firearm instructor, educator, and enthusiastic Second Amendment proponent, David Lombardo.
And we're back with On Target Radio, America's voice for the Second Amendment. I'm your host, David Lombardo. My co-host across the council for me, Tim Dalan.
How you doing tonight, Mr. David?
You know, this is going to be an interesting show. We, on Facebook, Eric said on Facebook, I've been meaning to listen to this show for a long time, and tonight I'm going to do it. Eric, you picked the wrong night. That's all I can say. This was not the night you should have picked to do it.
This is going to be a winner. It's going to go down in history.
Radio history.
Best show we ever did.
Radio history being made tonight, ladies and gentlemen, right here. Our guest stiffed us. So it's Tim and I. And you see the silence right away.
It is. Well, you know that I'm never sure if it's Tim and I or Tim and me. Or me and Tim, or me and Dave, or
and that's how we'll spend 39 minutes and 50 seconds parsing grammar. That'll be it'll be a good show. So here's the thing. We were going to talk about making vehicles bulletproof. Now we're going to talk about making On Target Radio bulletproof, since we're wide open this evening. But before we do that, I do have a rant.
You have a rant, so
Absolutely.
You have 3 minutes. I got about a minute 10 on my fighting back, and then we're gonna.
You can take more time if you need.
We're gonna. We can play paintball in the studio. George, can we play paintball in the studio?
I was afraid that was going to happen. Okay, here we go. Here it is. I stand corrected. The most idiotic thing I've ever heard turns out not to be Mayor Rahm Emanuel's psychotic need to prevent innocent Chicagoans from carrying a firearm to defend themselves against a flood of violent crime. The most idiotic thing I've ever heard is Chicago's top cop, Gary McCarthy's Operation Impact. Operation Impact is, at first blush, a reasonable tactic aimed at trying to get control of Chicago's neighborhoods so violent they make Detroit look like a vacation destination. The premise, swarming high-crime areas with the city with cops on foot patrol, does make sense. It is a tactic that's worked elsewhere. Given the logic of it, it begs the question of who actually came up with the idea. Certainly not the dim-witted McCarthy. Let's be realistic. This is the same guy who wants to ban modern sporting rifles because they're the weapon of choice of street gangs. The only glitch in the concept is that in both 2011 and 2012, only one person per year was actually killed with a long gun of any type. Banning MSRs to reduce street gang violence is morally akin to banning trains to reduce traffic accidents. Upon closer examination, it turns out to be McCarthy's baby, after all, because the devil is in the details. McCarthy plans to assign new academy graduates to foot patrol assignments in 20 targeted hot zones. The hot zones constitute 3% of the city of Chicago, the 3% that account for 20% of the city's violence. With all due respect to the brave men and women who have chosen a career defending their city and recently graduated from the academy, this is sending lambs to the slaughter. Successfully completing the police academy requires dedication, determination, and, frankly, fairly well-developed cojones. The only thing lacking is experience, and on the mean streets of Chicago, surrounded by hundreds of sociopaths for whom killing a stranger, let alone a cop, is a rite of passage into a gang, experience is the only thing that keeps you alive. These young men and women will rise to the challenge and go do the job. But the question is, at what price? And I'm guessing Chicago's King Leonidas won't be leading his Spartans at Thermopylae. He'll be in his office reading mortality reports. You'd think the guy who cornered the silver market to make enough stars to put on his uniform would send seasoned officers to the hot spots and deploy his fresh, young troops more logically. say, to somewhat less lethal hotspots, such as the Magnificent Mile. Now, there's a place that they can build some experience with less of a risk factor, but the city has a better plan. Alderman Brendan Riley proposed Mag Mile businesses should pay for police protection above and beyond the city's outrageously high taxes. Riley would turn the Mag Mile into yet another cash cow by making merchants pay an additional tax for police protection that's already been paid for with existing tax dollars. People give millions of dollars to build things in Millennium Park, Riley said. Some people like to put their names on museums that would be built in Grant Park. Some of those very families could perhaps take on this cause and make a donation of public safety officers. At a rate of $30 an hour, the price would be right, and they would be far more effective than security officers, he said. You can't make this stuff up, Tim. It can only happen in Chicago, where the inmates are running the asylum. And that's my rant for the week.
That was a good one. I agree with that wholeheartely. I don't get the fact that they want to do that, just like you said. They should have their most experienced officers out there dealing with that. You take a brand new person, even though they really want to be there, they really want to do the job, they don't know the ins and outs of it. They don't know what's going to happen. They don't know what a dangerous situation is. And if they want an accidental shooting, it very well may be, a brand new cop, very well intended, but that brand new cop may pull a gun in the wrong situation just because they're hopped up because they know they've been put in a bad situation.
I agree.
I don't get it.
I agree. Dealing with that element of society is not simple, and it's a very threatening situation. And for somebody that has no experience, I just think it's a disaster in the making.
I know many police officers. I know several Chicago cops, both active and retired. They're great people.
Absolutely, sure.
You and I, neither one of us have any argument with the job that those men and women are doing in the Chicago Police Department. Great people, the ones that I know, and they're doing a good job, the best they can with the tools that they're given. But, I don't know what their bosses are thinking. I just don't get it.
It astounds me. And unfortunately, as I'm sure we both remember in our younger days, when you are 20-something, you basically think you're indestructible and, nothing can happen to you.
Oh, right. I remember that.
Part of experience is being on the street. And here's the other thing. The other thing is we've lost control of Michigan Avenue. I mean, I don't even understand how that's happening. That used to be a sacred ground. People, let's face it, people come to Chicago. One of the main attractions is to go to the Magnificent Mile, to go shopping at all of the hot stores and stuff. And now, what is it? We have this mob. Last year we had, what are they called, flash mobs? And
that's what they're calling it. I think the Tribune today was calling it, and that's what they're saying. It was a flash mob. They're calling it, said something along the lines of flash mobs similar to last year. So I know last week when we had the show and it had just happened, there was we were trying to figure out, we'd heard a couple of different versions and stories about what actually happened. And now it looks like the city is calling it a flash mob. So we're right back where we were last summer.
And it's going to get worse as it gets warmer. You're listening to On Target Radio. This is AM 560, The Answer. Our subject tonight was going to be bulletproof vehicles, but that didn't work out. So we're kind of looking at what's happening in the city of Chicago. We're talking about the top cop is wanting to deploy graduates of the academy, just out of the academy, on foot patrol in the worst neighborhoods of the city of Chicago. You should take a moment, give us a call if you have any questions or if you have any comments. You can call us at 312-642-5600, 312-642-5600, or go to Facebook, like our page on Target Radio, and ask a question there. We'll be happy to answer it. I just don't get this guy. I mean, so far it seems like everything that he has done, McCarthy, has not worked.
Well, at the beginning you wanted to give the guy the benefit of the doubt. We as firearm owners in the state of Illinois, we've always been oppressed by the city of Chicago and their leanings. But still, when the new guy came in, I still wanted to see everything work out well. I don't want to see all the mayhem that's going on in Chicago. I don't want to see the death and the shootings and the drugs. I don't want to see any of that. So I want him to do good. And it just, there are some things that are happening, but you just don't know yet. And this really sounds like a boneheaded thing to do.
And I suppose the time is running short on this, because when you start on the Magnificent Mile, I mean, that was like the one place that you knew you were safe, the near north side, and we're losing control of that. And he's putting foot patrols in areas that have been lost all along. I don't know.
Well, the Mag Mile, that's where the tourist dollars come in. You know, it's right there. And if you know, Joe and Marlene from wherever in Kansas want to come to Chicago for a vacation and they want to go shopping, they're probably having second thoughts right now. And I'm sure the Chicago machine is spinning it every way they can to say that it won't happen again. And that was very isolated. And I hope it is. I really do.
I hope it is. I don't know. We'll see how it evolves. It just doesn't look good. Murders are down so far this year.
Yeah, they are. They are.
So that's a positive thing. But I don't know how this is going to turn out. But you know what? We'll wait and see. And there's nothing else we can do. It'd be interesting to be a fly on the wall of Rahm Emanuel's office. We're going to have more on Target Radio in a few moments. You're listening to AM 560, The Answer.
For over 100 years, the Illinois State Rifle Association has supported the rights and freedoms of Illinois citizens to keep and bear arms. For over 100 years, the ISRA has supported the use of firearms as a sport for personal protection and as a fundamental aspect of national defense. For over 100 years, the Illinois State Rifle Association has been supporting you. Don't you think it's time you supported them? ISRA.org or 815-635-3198. The Illinois State Rifle Association, supporting you.
For 35 years, Pelcher's Shooter's Supply has served the Lansing area. Pelcher's offers new and used firearm sales, appraisals, and gunsmithing service. Pelcher's new spacious showroom has hundreds of major brand firearms and supplies, and PelcherGuns.com features daily specials. Pelcher's Shooter's Supply on the corner of Ridge Road and Henry Street in downtown Lansing. Online at PelcherGuns.com or call 708-474-0662.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM 560, The Answer, with David Lombardo. Here's David with more interesting conversation on firearms, safety, your Second Amendment rights, and much more.
Okay, so I got a little bit of a bone to pick with you, Tim, and I'm gonna.
He's just trying to start something, so we got 10 minutes to go right here.
We're gonna fill it with anguish and anger. But first, before we do that, I don't want you to think that I have forgotten. I wait all week for this. Is the pinnacle of my week. This is Tim's Fighting Back,
as brought to you by the Illinois State Rifle Association. Spokane, Washington. Friends say Sandra Mize is soft-spoken with a great laugh, but don't mess with this 63-year-old grandmother of 10. When she was awakened by an intruder smashing through her back door early Wednesday, she decided to fight back, grabbing the .22 caliber handgun she keeps by her bed and ran into her dark living room to see the silhouette of a man in her kitchen. Separated from the man by only a kitchen counter, Mize warned the intruder she was armed. When he kept coming, she fired the gun for the first time in 30 years. She did, however, miss, and the man decided that he was so stressed out, he decided to sit down on the couch in the living room, and he waited for the grandmother to call 911 and waited for the cops to show up. After officers took the intruder into custody, they gave Mize a junior police badge. The Spokesman Review reported Thursday. Having a firearm in your home for personal protection, I guess we got to see the value of that last night, said the police chief. This has been Fighting Back, brought to you by the Illinois State Rifle Association.
It got a little junior badge?
She got a junior badge.
There you go. That's exciting.
I guess they don't have a senior citizen badge.
Apparently not.
Yes.
I don't know. We got a comment from Javier on Facebook, and he asks, do you think the city of Chicago should try to reduce crime by moving sworn peace officers from low no-crime areas to high-crime areas and replacing them with auxiliary officers in the low-crime areas?
Ding, 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 ding. Why didn't... I'm surprised that Mr. Mayor and Mr. Police Chief did not think of that. Why not take the cops where there's no crime, put them in the bad crime, put those put all those the new guys
yeah.
and the auxiliary officers who stand there for parades and that type of thing.
I don't think Chicago. I don't think
No, they don't have those?
Oh, I doubt it.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I can't picture Chicago arming civilians and giving them a badge.
Oh, they probably don't arm them. No, they give them mace or.
Oh, that's effective. Yeah.
Maybe they give them a picture of ROM to
and then send
flash.
them down to
or maybe
part of town.
No, better not say that.
I mean, the only catch, Javier, with auxiliary officers is they're not full-time guys. Auxiliary aren't paid. Typically auxiliary officers don't patrol on their own. When I was with Will County, the way it worked is we did like special events. We would direct traffic and that sort of thing. But if it was a patrol issue, an auxiliary officer is typically with another full-time officer in the car.
But, Javier, Dave and I and a couple other people, we've talked about the same exact thing you brought up. That would make sense, I think, to a great many people. But
no, I agree. And I think it works really well in Will County. I can't obviously speak for the sheriff, but there's been an auxiliary there for a very, very long time, and I think it's pretty effective. We actually have a phone call. Mark is calling in. Mark, how are you doing this evening?
Very well, thank you. I like the way you said it. We have a phone call as if you're surprised to get one.
Well, because I think Tim's parents are somewhere where they don't have phone reception, and it's just his parents and you listening. So,
Gotcha. Well, I had heard that your guest had canceled, so I thought I'd come up and throw you a nice softball. Today, I think it's today and tomorrow, the dates on the calendar are actually Yom HaShoah, which is the memorial for the Holocaust.
Oh,
and
wow.
I thought you might be interested in discussing the link between lack of firearms and what happened to the Jewish people in Europe.
Well, I think you're right on that, and that has happened. That's probably the greatest example of how that can affect the average person. But it's happened many times in history. Look what happened to the Indians in this country. We, the white man, told them, hey, put down your weapons. Trust us,
yeah.
And we will make everything better for you.
It's interesting that you bring this up, Mark, because I have said for a very long time, I don't understand. The Jews have been kicked by everybody, it seems like, in the world. And you look at the Israelis, they just don't take it. They just stand up for it. And yet in this country, we find a dearth of Jewish people who are into shooting sports or owning a firearm at all. And I mean, if I were Jewish, I think I would be armed to the teeth just because of the history of my own people.
Well, and that's my opinion, and that's where I'm coming from. I mean, I'm from a Jewish background, and I'm very much in favor of private firearms ownership.
Yeah, and my brother-in-law is Jewish, and he's a big Second Amendment guy. It sort of surprises me that it happened. I asked him once that very question a number of years ago, why that happens and why Jewish people in this country tend to not like the concept of people owning guns. And I think he was serious when he said it. But what he said was the only thing we fear more than a government is our fellow man with a gun.
Right.
Well, Norm Podhoretz put out a book a few years back, I think, called Why Are Jews Liberals? And I actually found that to be very insightful on the topic. But I think it's because of the mistaken notion that the danger comes from either the right politically or the left. And it's a totalitarian danger. It doesn't matter whether you're talking about Nazis or communists. It's state control that is the danger.
Yeah, I agree.
I totally agree.
Yeah, when I was in Vietnam is when the 7 Days War occurred, and Vietnam was a messy war. There's no question about that. And we would read in the paper about how all of these Arabs basically turned on the state of Israel and were going to try and mow them under, and they just all got their butts kicked. And we thought that was really cool.
I so greatly admire the Jewish state and what they were able to do when other people thought that everybody else's back was turned and looking in another direction. They thought they could get away with it, and the Israelis stood up and took care of business.
Well, interestingly enough, when we talk about the the recent shootings in the schools and Newtown and so forth. I mean, from what I understand, it's actually a fairly routine matter that in Israel there are either armed soldiers or armed security in the schools, and yet here we're having a real problem adapting to that as a solution.
No, I agree with you completely. You're listening to On Target Radio, AM 560, The Answer. Give us a call at 312-642-5600. We're talking with Mark, and you're absolutely right. And in this country, we have sort of an analogous situation in that in Utah, concealed carry holders can carry a firearm into schools. And there has never been one shooting in a school in Utah, period.
And I do remember after Newtown, too, it was sort of, well, I don't want to say funny because that was a bad situation, but it was funny in the fact that the lady that was in charge of schools in Utah, for some reason, she was on the national news, and she said that none of her teachers would ever come into school armed. She couldn't believe any of her teachers would want to do that, and it was just sort of funny that they've been able to do it for a long time, and she probably has many teachers there and has no idea that they're actually carrying.
Yeah,
I think that's a dirty little secret, probably even here in Chicago. I'm sure there are probably more teachers than anyone cares to admit that are carrying something that perhaps they ought not be because they do fear for their current situation.
Well, I think you're right, and without naming names, we know for a fact that there are a number of people that carry firearms concealed regardless, and sure. I always tell them it's not your best choice because it's still illegal, but I get it. If you work in an area, some of those high crime areas, who wants to go in there unarmed?
Goes back to the judged by 12, then carried by 6.
Yeah, it does. So, I don't know. It's a good point, though, Mark, and I appreciate you calling in. Thank you very much, and have a good one.
You too. Take care.
And Dave, I did want to say, too, that it's just not my parents are listening. My son Nick is listening, and his significant other, Jen Kraft, are also listening. So we actually have maybe 5 tonight.
That's great. We have up to 5 people listening to our show. Actually, the good news is we found out, because we always joke about this, we found out recently that we've got about 10,000 listeners, which for a brand new show on a Sunday night is not what I would call bad. George is just a strange human being.
Yeah, we got sound effects
tonight. George is our engineer, and he can't keep his paws off of laugh cycles and weird things. But anyway, that's fine. When we come back, I believe we're going to have Richard Pearson on the line, who is the executive director of the ISRA. He'll give us an update on what's going on in Springfield. And until then, you're listening to On Target Radio, AM 560, The Answer.
Some people shoot beer cans, some shoot paper plates, and some just shoot the breeze. Here at Action Target, we believe there's more to shooting than just putting holes through paper. As the world leader in shooting range design and technology, Action Target has been revolutionizing the world of firearms training for more than a quarter of a century. Go to actiontarget.com to order your steel targets and range equipment today. That's actiontarget.com.
For over 100 years, the Illinois State Rifle Association has supported the rights and freedoms of Illinois citizens to keep and bear arms. For over 100 years, the ISRA has supported the use of firearms as a sport for personal protection and as a fundamental aspect of national defense. For over 100 years, the Illinois State Rifle Association has been supporting you. Don't you think it's time you supported them? ISRA.org or 815-635-3198. The Illinois State Rifle Association. Supporting you.
Hi, I'm David Lombardo, host of On Target Radio. You're living proof that radio advertising reaches listeners. In the 2 years I've been advertising on AM 560 WIND, Safer USA grew from 300 students a year to over 1,200. By coupling our On Target Radio broadcast with our Facebook page, we found our audience is steadily growing, and in only 2 months it appears we've exceeded 5,000 listeners. Over 34% are in the age group 25 to 34, 26% are 35 to 44. We have listeners from Rockford to Western Michigan and southern Wisconsin to St. Louis. Thanks to live streaming on the internet, we also have listeners as far away as Germany, Japan, and New Zealand. On Target Radio is offering low-cost sponsorship opportunities on Chicago's premier conservative talk radio station. Advertising on AM 560 WIND has worked for Safer USA. Let me show you how it can work for you. Call 815-744-5487. Join the On Target Radio team today at 815-744-5487.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM 560, The Answer, with David Lombardo. Here's David with more interesting conversation on firearms, safety, your Second Amendment rights, and much more.
And we're back with more On Target Radio. We're sort of discussing all kinds of things this evening, but we have Richard Pearson on the line, who is Executive Director of the Illinois State Rifle Association. Richard, what's happening in Springfield?
Well, I'm heading there tomorrow night, and, of course, the action is going to start this next week, and then we'll take a break the last week of April, and then it's going to be full tilt till the end of May.
Go ahead.
Well, so do you expect 11:55 to start off the ground running tomorrow, or?
No, I don't. I actually think that in the end we'll wind up with 997 or a rendition of thereof, and in the end we'll wind up prevailing, or either that or on the 9th of January we'll all have concealed carry.
9th of June.
9th of June, I'm sorry.
No, so I agree. 997 is the one to go. House Bill 997, that was the original bill by Brandon Phelps. It had pretty much everything in it that you and I would want. And then when Mr. Underhanded, in charge of the House down in Springfield, decided to throw out 1155 and pile it with bad amendments, I'm really happy to hear that you believe that 997 has a great chance. So that makes me feel real good about it.
You have 1155, 56, and 57. They're all just bills that they're trying to hang everything on. But I don't think in the end any of them will pass.
There's a part in that bill that is a little confusing. They talk about who would be qualified to be an instructor to teach whatever the course is going to be. And one of the things they cite is an NRA pistol marksmanship instructor. I'm not sure. Did you notice that?
Yeah, there's no such thing.
Okay, so I was right. It doesn't exist.
Right, exactly. But you have to remember that the people who are hanging all these amendments on there, the anti-gun people, don't know anything about firearms. In fact, I'm not sure they know anything about anything. But that didn't prevent them from getting elected, so we have to really work on it.
Richard, did you happen to see that the lady, I can't remember, she was a senator, a congressman from, I don't even remember what state, who was saying... Colorado, the lady who said...
It comes right to mind.
Yeah, when that, just these high-capacity magazines, they're really ammunition, so we don't have to confiscate them, just ban them, because eventually they'll shoot all the ammunition and they won't be any good anymore. So that really makes me feel good that one of our federally elected officials, even though it's from another state, they have no clue or idea what they're talking about at all.
Well, exactly. It proves that you can have a lobotomy and get elected to Congress.
You're listening to On Target Radio, AM 560, The Answer. We're talking with Richard Pearson, the Executive Director of the Illinois State Rifle Association. One of the things about the proposed bill that kind of irks me a little, and Tim and I get nose-to-nose on this, and we're probably going to get nose-to-nose in the next segment, but that it's a training issue. And the reason I say that is because as it stands when I last saw it, it's the NRA basic pistol class or the personal protection outside the home class. The basic pistol class doesn't prepare you to do anything in terms of concealed carry or lethal force. I don't get that.
Well, it's way ahead of whatever's in second place. That's the big deal there. And so when you add in the other elements, which is like Illinois law, so forth and so on, it comes out to be pretty good. You got to remember that there are 5 states that don't require any training at all, and so we're way ahead of those, and we're ahead of most states that do require training. Even Utah doesn't require qualification, for example.
That's right.
But Florida does. So that becomes part of it that we want people to be able to qualify.
Well, this is clearly going to be self-serving, but we teach that 8-hour seminar, which, as you know, is extremely comprehensive in terms of concealed carry and home protection. And I'm just thinking, so that's not going to qualify for Illinois, but taking a basic pistol class will?
Well, you have to remember that when this bill comes out, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be everything that everybody wants, but it will get us concealed carry in the end, and it will take several years to modify it. But
and I'm sure there'll be lawsuits along the way.
Well, there may be, but we have to come up with a plan, and we have to get it passed. And you have to remember that the other side are putting all kinds of things in there that the anti-gunners, that are really there to screw up concealed carry. And so we have to fight our way through that and do the best job we can. Well,
you got 15 seconds, Richard. Anything quick you want to say?
No, join the Illinois State Rifle Association. We certainly need you, and to be a strong and powerful organization is what guarantees your gun rights in Illinois.
As always, my friend, thank you very much. It's great having you on the show.
All right.
Thanks, Richard.
Have a good one.
Thanks.
So we do have something coming up, however, and that is Wednesday night, is it? This Wednesday?
This Wednesday.
Will County.
No, that's tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow night.
Tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.
We're talking about two different things. And we're going to sort those two things out when we come back after these brief messages. You're listening to On Target Radio, AM 560, The Answer. I'm David Lombardo, president of Safer USA, Chicagoland's most popular firearm training school. We continue to offer our popular home protection and concealed carry seminar every month. This 8-hour seminar covers everything you need to know to safely and legally use a firearm for both concealed carry and home invasion, and qualifies you for Florida and Utah concealed carry permits good in about 30 states. Be sure to call and ask how we can help you raise funds for your organization or provide a guest speaker. We're also offering the NRA Basic Pistol Course and our Tactical Pistol 1 and 2. As always, I offer private one-on-one instruction for Basic Pistol, Chicago Firearm Certification, and Basic Home Defense. For further information, please call 877-954-3030 or go to saferusa.com. Safer USA, choosing to own a firearm is your business. Teaching you to own it responsibly is ours.
That's 877-954-3030 or saferusa.com.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM 560, The Answer, with David Lombardo. Here's David with more interesting conversation on firearms, safety, your Second Amendment rights, and much more.
And we're back with more On Target Radio. To clarify what it was that Tim and I were at cross purposes when we left the last segment. Tomorrow morning, Will County, the entire board is going to vote on
their recommendation for concealed carry. It's just going to say
right.
In the last 2 years, almost every county in the state has voted to approve or endorse concealed carry.
Right.
Will County hadn't done it yet. Will County has gotten around to do that. And it has been back and forth. There was a couple of hearings. You and I have been to some of the hearings.
Right.
And the one where the final vote is going to be is tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. at the Will County office building in Joliet.
So y'all show up at the Will County office building in Joliet and show your support. Now, the other thing, and we were talking at cross purposes, is next Wednesday night, the Will County chapter of the Illinois State Rifle Association Rifle Association has moved. So they'll be starting their Wednesday night meeting where?
At the Silver Dollar Restaurant in Elwood, Illinois. It's right off 53 going south from 80. And the address is, I don't have it.
What time is it? It's 7.
It's at 7 o'clock.
So just try and make it. Elwood is the size of a postage stamp. You can't miss it.
Yeah.
We have Tony on the line. Tony has got a comment about a Jewish organization that is for preserving the Second Amendment. Tony, how you doing?
Pretty good. I was just wondering if you guys ever heard of Jews for the Preservation of Firearm Ownership.
I've actually heard of it, but I don't know anything about it.
Yes, well, I'm not a member, so I'm probably not the best guy to talk to you about it, but I wanted to make everyone aware of it, and it makes sense that Jews should be armed.
Well, I'm glad to learn about it, and that might make an interesting show sometime. It might be interesting to have them come on and talk about it. I appreciate your call. Go ahead, Tony. We can say something.
Sorry, I wasn't better prepared for the call, but I'm going to look it up and see if they have a website. And I urge everyone to do the same. And they take members from all religions. You don't have to be a Jew to join.
Well, Tony, I found it. It's jpfo.org. Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership. It says America's most aggressive defender of firearms ownership. jpfo.org.
I think that'd be an interesting show.
Yep.
That's great. Thanks for looking that up, and I'd like to say hi to all my friends out there that are also listening.
All right, Tony. Thank you. Thank you for calling this evening.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay, now's the magic moment that I've been waiting for. Let's have this little discussion, you and I.
Okay.
And the discussion is, you come from Washington State.
Yes.
I'm an Illinoisan, and you always like to lord that over me because you say people in Illinois are so narrow-minded about firearms. The issue that you and I disagree with is, I say, with privilege comes responsibility. So if you're going to get a concealed carry permit, you ought to have some training. Every time I say that, your beard frazzles.
I do not, and I've told you this over and over, I do not disagree with training. I just believe it shouldn't be required. I think training is a good idea. Remember, just a couple minutes ago, Richard Pearson said that he believed there was 5 states that didn't require any actual firearm training at all. And Florida, even though it does require firearm training, it's incredibly minimal. It's incredibly minimal without getting real deep into it. So all I'm simply saying is, if you took somebody from a state that didn't have a requirement for training, and they all of a sudden moved to Illinois, and Illinois has concealed carry. We're going to pretend Illinois has concealed carry. And this person, man or woman, moved into the state and said, hey, I want to get a concealed carry because now I'm a resident in Illinois, and how do I apply for the card? And they tell them, well, first you have to go get training. That person would be screaming bloody murder that nowhere in the Second Amendment does it say that you have to have training before you can keep and bear arms. And I know you always come
none
at
of them
back
are
at me.
absolutes.
Well, still, I don't disagree that training is not. I don't disagree that we shouldn't have it. Let me ask you a question.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
And we won't get into
Okay. I'm rolling my eyes. Everybody here, I'm rolling my eyes.
But here it is. We've done how many students in our seminar? We've probably gotten close to 1,000 at this point.
Right.
We've been doing it that long. People say the most boneheaded things you've ever heard in your life. You got to admit that. The misconceptions are staggering.
I agree.
So you're suggesting that a person who has some of those truly boneheaded misconceptions we should just let them walk the street with a gun.
Okay, but if we had one of those states that don't have any training, we all say, well, there's no blood running in the streets.
Okay.
Now the anti-gunners, and we know who we're talking about, if there was one of those states where they could prove, there was any proof that where they don't require training, there was really blood running in the streets, the anti-gunners would just be screaming bloody. Look, see, here, we told you. But that's not happening, Dave. It's not happening.
But here's the deal. See, that's not a good sample. And the reason why is this. There are some X number of people who are carrying concealed firearms. The percentage that actually ever use it is minuscule. And because it's minuscule, we don't really have a baseline to say lack of training leads to that. If everybody who carried a concealed firearm used it over the next month, we'd have a great baseline to know, but we don't. I'm just suggesting that we hear so much nonsense from people that
we do.
I
get that. I'm not saying it's not worth it. I didn't say it's not worth it, and you even acknowledged that I said that. I'm just saying it shouldn't be required.
Right.
I'm not saying it's not worth it.
And this is like the guys who call us and go, I wouldn't take a stupid course because I've been shooting for 500 years, but I have to take it to get a Utah concealed carry so I can put a gun on my hip, walk down the street, and shoot folk. Know what I'm saying? Okay, we're going to be back. We're going to be back to wrap up the show after these messages with more On Target Radio on AM 560, The Answer.
over 100 years, the Illinois State Rifle Association has supported the rights and freedoms of Illinois citizens to keep and bear arms. For over 100 years, the ISRA has supported the use of firearms as a sport for personal protection and as a fundamental aspect of national defense. For over 100 years, the Illinois State Rifle Association has been supporting you. Don't you think it's time you supported them? ISRA.org or 815-635-3198. The Illinois State Rifle Association, supporting you.
Some people shoot beer cans, some shoot paper plates, and some, well, some just shoot the breeze. Here at Action Target, we believe there's more to shooting than just putting holes through paper. As the world leader in shooting range design and technology, Action Target has been revolutionizing the world of firearms training for more than a quarter of a century. Go to ActionTarget.com to order your steel targets and range equipment today. That's ActionTarget.com.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM 560, The Answer, with David Lombardo. Here's David with more interesting conversation on firearms, safety, your Second Amendment rights, and much more.
And we're back with more On Target Radio. We have another Tony, a different Tony is on the line. Tony, you got about 1 minute.
Can you hear me?
I
Yes,
can
we
hear
can.
you.
Okay, I just want to say first-time caller, love the show.
Thank you.
And just want to let you know the reason why concealed carry is having problems here in Illinois, of course, is because of Cook County. And the reason we're having problems in Cook County is that you have certain aldermen. Now, let me say up front, I'm African-American, and you have African-American aldermen who are pushing this. I give you a good example. Anthony Beale, Alderman Anthony Beale. I talked to him on another radio station, and he said, and I quote, "I do not want law-abiding citizens to have guns to protect themselves from criminals."
He actually said
That's
that.
He said that literally. He literally said that on the radio.
Did he say
Okay.
why?
Because he's just against guns. That's all.
Well, there you go.
But he
just-
carries one? Does he carry one?
I believe he does. I think he's a former policeman. I'm not sure, but
Well, if he's a Chicago alderman, he can carry one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
yeah,
You know,
it's really sad. What I was going to say is this. Are you guys interested in maybe making some rounds, maybe in like certain black neighborhoods to actually get the word out? Because, I mean, that's where your problem lies. You've got to convince people in the African-American community to not be afraid of guns because, let's face it, that's where all the problems are coming from. And Cook County is the only place that's stopping the rest of us from having the right to bear arms.
Well, Tony, I'll tell you what. Give me a call. You can just call me, the Google Safer USA, or, it's 815-744-5487. Give me a call tomorrow, and we'll talk about that, okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for calling, Tony. All right, so we got about 2 minutes left here. We got a bunch of stuff coming up. Tim, what do we got?
Well, we've got our home protection and concealed carry class that everybody likes. It's a great time, great training that you should have. It's this coming Saturday, April 13th, at the Quality Inn in Bradley.
It's not mandatory, though. You don't have to take it.
No, you don't have to take it.
Right.
This is optional. Also, the following weekend on Saturday, we have our very popular Tactical Pistol 1 and 2 and an NRA Basic Pistol class. All in Waterman, Illinois, at the Aurora Sportsman's Club. So if you have some training and you'd like to get out and do some tactical shooting, we have something for you there. Or if you're a brand new shooter or haven't shot for many years, NRA Basic Pistol is always a very popular class.
And I'll be teaching the tactical pistol.
Yes, Dave's teaching the tactical pistol. We have another great instructor, Phil, who's teaching basic pistol, and Dave and I will both be teaching the home protection and concealed carry this Saturday together.
So we have a good time.
Yes.
Our classes are good. People like it. We were out there today.
Although people like me better.
We were, that's not true. That's not true at all. In fact, I don't tell you the bad things people say about you because you're my friend. But having said that, the home protection concealed carry seminar is really worth taking. If you're even considering having a firearm for personal protection, you really should take it because we get into subjects that other people just aren't getting into, which is why it's an 8-hour seminar. But don't buy a gun, don't do anything until you take a seminar and you understand all of the things that go into choosing the proper firearm, how to use it, and what you can legally do and not do.
You know what I'd like to do, Dave, is just popped into my mind. All our recorded shows are on YouTube, on Target Radio channel on YouTube. We also podcast through the iTunes library. And I was just telling David just the other day, one of our most popular areas of the country that listens to our recorded shows is Wichita, Kansas. So I would like to give a shout out to everybody in Wichita. Thank you very much for supporting us, and keep listening.
Thank you very much, Wichita. Isn't this where you stand, you light your lighter, and you wave it over your head and you go, thank you, Wichita. We'd like to thank our guests who didn't show up tonight, and Robin Zeeland, our call screener. We'd like to thank George on the board and all of our sponsors. Say goodnight, Tim.
Good night, Tim.
Good night, all. We'll see you next week with more on Target Radio. And thanks, Mike, for making it all possible.